Herman Falcao writes, funniest movie that is not a comedy.
Oh, funniest movie that's not a comedy.
Funniest movie that's not a comedy. Okay, look, my go-to answer is a really bad movie that's unintentionally funny is Planet of the Dinosaurs. I say it every week. You got to check out Planet of the Dinosaurs. Back to the Future isn't really a comedy, but there's some really funny moments in that.
Oh, it's hilarious.
I've got one. Leverage.
Oh, Battlefield Earth.
Yeah, Battlefield Earth, man.
Yeah,
it is so funny.
It is. It depends on if you're asking, it's so awful that it's hilarious to laugh at, or if it's intentionally very funny. And
It's not intentionally funny.
No, Battlefield Earth is not intentionally funny. And it brings up the problem because a lot of times if a movie is very funny, it's often called an action/comedy.
Right,
it's
right,
called,
right.
or called a dramedy, or called a heist/comedy. So I'd have to think, it's a great question. You guys in the chat board or in the comment section, either one, leave your thoughts. What do you think is a movie that was not at all advertised as comedy, as something else, but was really, really funny
Here's
anyway?
another classic one: The Room with Tommy Wiseau.
Oh my God!
Oh,
Once
I got
again,
it.
so
now
awful,
he's changed it to his tune to like it's always been supposed to be funny, like after people were throwing spoons and forks and all that stuff. So.
I got a total franchise that is actually it's a great all-time awesome franchise, but was never sold as a comedy, and that's particularly the first 3 Die Hard movies have a lot of
very
comedy in
funny.
them, but
Very
they're
funny.
not marketed as comedies at all. But John McClane's hilarious.
This weekend, I was watching American Psycho, and I found myself laughing a
Good
lot
one.
in the
Yeah.
movie.
Call.
That
That's a
one time
great
Christian
one.
Bale's like listening to Huey Lewis in the news.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that scene is hilarious. All right, what's next?
Thomas Purdy writes, do all films make cast and crew sign a non-disclosure agreement, or is it just big movies? What happens if someone breaks it?
I'd be shocked if anybody was stupid enough to not make cast and crew sign non-disclosures. I mean, because this is just there's too much money. Even in smaller movies, like, oh, that movie only cost $5 million to make. That's more money I'll ever see in my lifetime. That's $5 million. So I think they'd be idiots not to put it in there. If you violate it, you subject yourself to being sued into oblivion. I mean, and rightly so. I mean, if somebody trusts you and says, yeah, you come and work on this movie and blah, 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 but I mean, you can't reveal anything, you can't share stuff with people, and if you do, we're going to, like I said, sue you into oblivion, and then they do it, and they deserve to be sued into oblivion. So I can't think of a project that wouldn't make a non-disclosure. Shep, have you ever worked on a project where there either weren't non-disclosures or you didn't make other people sign non-disclosures?
Nope. Always make people sign non-disclosures on any of my stuff that I work on, and I've signed non-disclosures on almost every single project I've worked on, unless it was like the only ones I haven't done, or if I was just doing what I do like here, like I'm talking on a show. I didn't have to sign a non-disclosure.
No, I make you sign a non-disclosure agreement every morning when I send out show notes.
I do have to sign every time, which Campy is such a tough guy. But no, I mean, like when you're just talking, off the cuff kind of stuff, like in news interviews and stuff, or interviews like that. But even within the interview stuff, when you're doing a documentary, I had everyone sign a non-disclosure because it was all about stuff that we didn't want to reveal until the film came out. So there were certain things that I discovered through making that documentary that I didn't want just talk about it. I was like, can you just not talk about it till the film comes out and just sign this so that it's all cool?
I think it'll happen eventually where, because I don't know of a story of this yet, but if an actor or an actress actually did talk about something they weren't supposed to and the studio actually sued them. I mean, we've seen people get slapped on the wrist for like admitting too much at Comic-Con about a character or something like that. But with all these Star Wars movies that are coming out, with all the Marvel and DC movies that are coming out, NDAs are such a huge priority with the way that people communicate through social media today. So eventually somebody might actually get sued or lose money for yapping too much about a project. I just don't think it's happened to this point.
Do you remember when that ridiculous, stupid story came out that Jenna Malone was playing Carrie Kelly in Batman v Superman?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was because some random local news crew said, we just talked to one of the crew members who let us know that Jenna Malone is playing the redhead Carrie Kelly, and everybody ran with it. And one of the things I said is, that's clearly not true, because any crew member working on one of these movies will know well enough that you cannot say that to anybody. And then sure enough, it turned out not to be true. All right, what's next?
Adam McCoy writes, honestly, what's the percentages we lose one of the classic characters in Star Wars The Force Awakens?
So by classic characters, let's just say that doesn't include 3PO or R2-D2. They're droids, which means they're expendable.
They're not dying, John. That's what that means.
We're probably talking about Luke, Han, and Leia. I think 20%. I honestly, I know some people will say like 90, 95. I honestly I honestly think they're all surviving into the next one. But I'm not going to say completely rule it out. I'm going to say 20%.
I'll throw Chewie in there too as a classic character.
Yeah.
So Chewie, Han, Luke, and Leia.
Oh, he buys it. He buys it for sure.
Chewie is not dying in episode 7 or 8 or 9. For episode 7, 100%, nobody's dying.
I'm gonna put it.
want.
I'll put it at 70%. I think one of them's gonna kick it, but in a heroic way. Just like you had Obi-Wan sacrifice himself.
Oh, it's so hard.
I know, but that brings that extra element of drama.
Can't they just wait till episode 8 to kill everybody off?
Well, speaking of that, hold on a second. Star Wars episode. I'm putting this in
Are we getting
right
tickets?
now.
Are you buying us tickets right now?
I'm buying tickets right now.
Premiere tickets
now,
for $500.
I saw a bunch of people tweeting about this before, and I should address this. Okay, yeah, here it is. On IMDb, if you go to Star Wars Episode 8, Harrison Ford is listed as playing Han Solo in the movie. So I have a lot of people telling me, see, John, it's confirmed. Now, I don't think he's dying in Episode 7. Just for the record, I don't think he's dying in Episode 7. That being said, just because it says on IMDb that he's going to be in Episode 8 means squat jack shit. I mean, it means nothing at all. IMDb is awesome for looking at films that have already come out, and you can pretty much book it if it says in IMDb for a movie that came out last year or last week even, all that information. But for future movies, a lot of it's speculative. Just because Harrison Ford is listed on IMDb does not mean he's going to be in the movie, so don't go to the bank with that.
If they kill Harrison Ford in episode 7, I want a refund for $1,000 for the tickets that I bought on eBay.
I want an action figure of Harrison Ford dressed up as a hot dog.
That was great.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
And he
That
was like
was
really pouring out his soul when he's talking. I think the movie's amazing. Saying this dressed as a hot dog. It's fantastic.
All right, let's take a few more.
All right, Michael writes, if you had to pick one horror icon / slasher to act as your bodyguard during the end of the world, who would you choose and why?
Jason. He's unstoppable. He's just unstoppable. So I would have to, if I need my bodyguard to embody that, I'm going with Jason.
I might go with Michael Myers because both of those guys don't talk, so you wouldn't have to worry about like boring conversation. Yeah, I might go with Michael Myers.
You guys are so missing the boat on this. Okay, I wanted to go Freddy Krueger because at least you keep us all
But
laughing.
zombies don't
until the
dream.
end.
Yeah,
Zombies don't dream.
I'm not taking Freddy Krueger. Okay, you took a guy who went into space. I'm taking a guy who actually landed on the moon. That's the Leprechaun, baby. The Leprechaun can get me off Earth, out of this post-apocalyptic wasteland, and get me to a new planet and help me survive. The Leprechaun is my lucky charm.
But he might just be taking you for that weird pot of gold, and you're like, dude, you're supposed to be protecting me. And he's like, yeah, that's right.
He laughs at
It's a
you.
risk. I'm gonna wear green, so he's not pinching me.
He's going to take you back to the hood. See how
Back to the
that
hood
goes.
too.
All right, what's next?
Kareem Yamut writes, what is the most overrated movie?
I mean, we get questions like this all the time. Remember what overrated means. Overrated means it's generally acknowledged as being awesome. So I hate it when I get in these conversations with people and say, well, what do you think is an overrated movie? And they say a movie that most people think is bad. It's like, no. You have to say something that everybody else loves. That has to be the prerequisite. And so for me, it's always been Blade Runner. It's the movie that is generally acknowledged by people much smarter than me, is a fantastic all-time science fiction classic. So, and it's one I don't necessarily appreciate. So for me, I have to say the overrated one is Blade Runner.
I will say, I always think when John Campea says that, I don't think he saw Blade Runner. I'm like, you fell asleep. You
must have seen some parody
You didn't
or
see it all the
something.
way through. You're like eating popcorn or passed out. You didn't see the movie. I don't know. We'll talk about this later. Did you see the whole movie?
I did see the whole thing.
But I want to see it with you again. You might have seen it when you were 13.
That could be fun.
We'll see it again. Frozen for me is the overrated and
But a lot of people give hate to that. A lot of people
Really?
give hate. Yeah.
But I'm not hating it. I'm not like, it's garbage or this. I'm happy that like it's a family film that everybody can sing along with. But when I saw it, it just didn't affect me in that way that everyone else was like, oh my God, it's the most fantastic film. I'll say this too, for very current films, Inside Out, I feel is overrated. Everyone's talking about it's like the top 10 movies. I really liked it, but I didn't love it. And it wasn't one of those movies where I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to tell everyone to see Inside Out. And all you guys loved it and everyone was talking about it so much. And when I finally saw it, just wasn't. It wasn't that movie.
That one qualifies. That qualifies because I'm one of those guys. I have it in my top 2.
Yeah, a movie that gets a lot of love that recently came out that I can't get into is Dread. I know everybody wants to see a sequel to Dread, and they think it's like the closest thing we've gotten to the Raid in America. I just don't get it. I'll try to watch it again, but all the time, I've said it before, Fantasia. Mickey dressed up as a wizard, casting a spell of boredom on me for 90 minutes. No thanks.
All right, let's take 3 more.
All right, Jake Silva writes, if you had one movie to make, do you cast Ryan Gosling or Chris Pratt?
Wow. That's like my first reaction is to say it depends on the kind of movie you want. If you're going more dramatic, you go Ryan Gosling. If you want action or comedy or adventure, you go Chris Pratt. But you didn't give me those options. So I will go. Gosling's a little more proven. He's been in a few more films and proved a little bit more over time. I'm a huge Pratt fan, but if I had to make that investment, I had to pick one of them, and I don't know if it's comedy, adventure, or drama. I'll go because Gosling did Drive. And so that was kind of like the Nicolas Winding said. That's kind of like the origin story of a superhero in many ways. So I'll see a little more. I haven't seen Pratt really flat out do a drama yet, other than like a small role in Moneyball or something like that. So I'll go Gosling.
I am going to bank on the fact that the movie I'm making is not a political movie that's hoping for an Oscar and say Chris Pratt is going to be my guy because he can do action, he can do comedy. When was the last time Ryan Gosling was actually funny? Like, the Crazy Stupid Love had funny moments with him.
I thought he was really funny in Crazy Stupid Love.
He's no Chris Pratt. He is no Chris Pratt.
No, he's not.
So I think Chris Pratt's a little more versatile, and I think Chris Pratt is a more likable on-screen presence, so...
I would go with Pratt myself, because it could be any genre, so we don't know what it is. It's open-ended. I think Pratt in Zero Dark 30 was really great.
He was really good in that. I get a small role, but you're right. He's
small
really good
role,
in that.
but I think he's flexible enough in all those areas, and so is Gosling. So it's a tough call, but I'm going to go with Pratt.
When was the last time Gosling trained raptors?
It's been a while. Maybe back in his Disney kid when he was one of the Musketeer days.
You can't do that on television or whatever show he was on.
But no, it's a no-lose situation, though. And either one of those guys.
Yeah,
No lose.
I like Ryan Gosling. I was just arguing for my boy.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Supporting role goes to the other guy.
Nicolas Hernandez writes, do you think we'll ever get a Donnie Darko sequel or remake? I love the original, but wouldn't mind a remake.
Sequel is almost an impossibility because there are just so many people who've not seen the original in the first place. Remake, though, talk to me in about 3, 4, 5 years. I think that's a definite possibility as a remake.
Yeah, they already had a sequel. I think it was like Darko S or something. I saw it, Donnie Darko then had a re-release, like a revised, like the special edition Donnie Darko, which was also fun. You can see both of those. I think it's just good as a standalone film. Yeah, I mean, eventually it'll get remade, maybe in 10, 15 years.
Yeah, I think it's not going to be before 15 years. I just saw Donnie Darko for the first time last week. Me and the nonfiction girlfriend sat down and watched it because he's a huge fan of it, and I'd never seen it, and I just want to watch that movie again. Like, I don't want to see a reboot. It's one of those rare movies where you can keep watching this same movie and get something more out of it every time. So let's not remake it just yet. Let's give it 15, 20 years.
All right, last question of the day.
Santez writes, yearly Star Wars movies, good or bad idea?
Let's put it this way. I love the blueprint they got out, an episode every year or every other year, and an anthology film on the off years. So I think it's if you're going to do a new Star, like if they had said, we're going to have episode 7 this year, episode 8 next year, episode 9 the year after that, episode 10, I might go, but this whole idea of staggering them episode anthology, I think it's a really nice move. We can't really definitively answer the question until we see Rogue One. And we've seen now 2 Star Wars movies 2 years in a row. How does it affect us? But I think it's going to work. So I'm going to lean towards the idea that it's a good idea for now. Schnepp, what do you think? Good idea, bad idea?
I think it's a great idea. When they first announced it, I was excited because I was like, how is this even possible? I'm used to waiting like 3 years or 10 or 12 years between they do a trilogy and then you have to wait like an entire generation of kids to be born and grow up and be 13 to see another trilogy. This way, you're going to see one a year for how long? 12 years? That's 12 Star Wars movies. That's pretty exciting, so I'm all for it.
Yeah, as of today, I love the idea. I'm not ready. Christian, the host of Jedi Council, keeps trying to sell me on doing 2 Star Wars movies a year, and I think that might be
that's a bit much.
A little excessive just from the fact that, and even with 1 a year, I want the time to enjoy the buildup. I know we all can't wait to see The Force Awakens, and part of the reason is because we've been waiting for so long. I love the tantric kind of excitement. Like, let's just keep. I don't want to see the episodes year after year after year. I want to wait for them. It doesn't have to be 3 years. It could be 2 years, like what they're doing. But I don't want to see more than one a year as of right now.
Hey guys, if you like this clip, click here to watch the entire episode. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel because it'll help you stay up to date with all the stuff we've got going on here at Collider.